Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. This is Carmen with Elemental Designs. So you guys, today I'm gonna share with you guys something that I'm working on. I did share with you guys the suitcase, the process of creating a suitcase, uh, and how that kind of entails. Now I'm gonna create a little journal that's gonna go inside of that. Now on the second part to that video, you're gonna see more or less how I started to kind of like decorate it and embellish it. It's like a quick little sneak peek, and you'll be able to see that in that video, which I'm still working on, but it'll be up shortly. Um, I didn't want to make the video too long, so I decided to stop that process so that I can share with you guys how I'm working on like a little album type of thing for that that's gonna go with that little suitcase. So I started working, and as you guys can see, this is just a plain Manila folder. Where's the rest of it? Here it is. This is just a plain Manila folder. This is the rest of it, and all I did was cut it down to size. So I just cut a little bit, cut it down to the size that I wanted, so that it can kind of fit nicely inside of my suitcase. So once it's all filled, it'll look, it'll go nicely in there, like a little storage keepsake kind of box. Let me get this out before I put it, keep it in there. So now what we're gonna work on, well, what I'm gonna share with you guys is the process of how I did it. So very simple. I'm not gonna go ahead and cut out another one of these because I don't need two. I just need the one. But I didn't do anything else to this besides score it where I needed to score it at, okay, in order to have some kind of flaps or something like that. Pretty much the spine of this is the spine that's already part of the Manila folders. So as you guys can see, once you do that, then obviously this part of it becomes shorter. So all I did was pretty much measure the size that I needed, and then once I got the size that I needed, then I just folded the rest, folded these little bits inward, just simply by folding them in. On this one, I created an extra fold because I might be adding an extra element here, so I'm not sure just yet. So that's what I did. Now, in order to pretty much create the placemat, the little mat area here, all I did was measure and make sure that I had like a little border, a tiny little border around it. I did go ahead and stamp the whole thing with this floral stamp right here that I've been in love with for the past couple since I got it. So I did some stamping on here, and I did distress the outside of it, but I didn't record. I wasn't recording at that point in time, so I'm like, you know what, I really want to share this, so that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna do this using old book pages. I am gonna most likely sew into the back, so you won't be able to see this once it's done. I'm gonna cut out another piece of this like burgundy-ish cardstock paper to pretty much put something there, and then I'm gonna embellish that. And it'll also help to cover up like any stitching or anything like that that goes through here. So I'll put that after I'm all done and cover that up. So let me put this to the side. So what I started doing is I have this humongous, I shared this book with you guys before. This book, you guys can just see the spine. Look at my hand, look at the spine. Humongous book. It's a dictionary. It's very vintage as well. And I purchased that so that I didn't have to buy 100 books. So I bought the biggest one that I could find, and I said this is going to be enough to last me for quite some time. So this is what we're going to do. I pulled out the signature. I pulled out one signature from in there for you guys, the ones that have sewn books. Pretty much you're going to see that they're kind of folds over, and then you're just going to go to the middle page, the center page, and in that center page you're going to find the stitching. If your book was stitched, if it was glued, then you're not gonna find no stitching. If it wasn't, if it was stitched, then you're gonna see stitching. So you're gonna see some stitching here. Just pretty much pop that stitching off in the middle of your signature. That way you don't destroy the rest of the book. And then just pop out the pages that you need. And so this one's really long, as you guys can see. This is really long. And so what I did is, in order to utilize the whole entire page without having to cut anything or create more scraps than what I need, all I did was I measured the size of my book more or less how big I needed it to be so that it fits inside, and then I fold it over. So I scored it with my ruler. If you have a paper, if you have a scoring tool, then you can use that as well. I have one too, but this is just easy. So I put it where I needed it to be, and then I created myself like a little notch, a little marker. Then I grabbed my ruler and leveled it with that marking, and then I just pretty much, once I knew my ruler was straight, I just folded over, pushed up against the crease, carried it over, pulled it over against the crease. And then you end up with something that looks like this. As you guys can see, it's just pretty much everything is folded over. This will also give my paper more stability. It'll make it stronger. So all I did was I pretty much went like this. And once I folded it, I just wanted to make sure that my lines were completely even and everything was flush with the sides. So I'll just make sure that my lines are straight on the edges. And then I just carry it over like so. I grab my ruler. And I put it flush against that edge. And I repeat the same thing, and I bring it all the way across. Once you do that, you just burnish it. That's how you say it. You burnish it with your fingers. And as you see, when you fold it over, everything will be flush and in line. You shouldn't have a part of that paper that sticks out like this or anything like that. Make sure that everything is flush. Okay? And then you just more or less fold it over. And what's good is that because these already have holes in them, it should be easy peasy to sew this in. So once I did that, again, obviously this is going to be way too long for what I needed, right? It's way too long. It's literally just about the length of what that is. So once I did that and I made sure, okay, this is going to fit in here, right where I did that scoring, where I did that fold, put it in here. It might be easier. So I'm going to put it in here right against the spine. I'm going to fold it over so it's flush up against that spine, and I see where my fold is, right? I grab the first one and I push it right up against that. Burnish it with my fingers, or if you have scoring tool, you can do that too. And I'm going to do the same with the other one, but I do them one at a time, not both of them together. I do them one at a time, and then once I kind of fold it over, then I put it under, put this one back over, make sure that everything is flush, and then I just continue to burnish it. And then what you're going to end up with is, and you can fold these any way that you wish. If you want them to be in, they can be in. If you want them to be out, they can be out. Some of these I'm going to cut and turn them into pockets. Some of these I'm not going to cut, and I'm going to leave them as extended pages. So this actually works very well. And if you see, automatically you have a pocket here. So if you don't want to glue this in, if you don't want to glue this part in, then you don't have to. If you don't like that folded area, then do this. And you'll have plain pages, which I think I actually like that, so I'm probably going to do that on some, and on some I won't. So that way I have a little variety. On some of them I'll leave it with the folds out, and on some of them I'll tuck the fold in. Some of them I'm going to cut these parts out and create a pocket out of this sleeve here, because it does open up, it does open up like a pocket. Some of these I'm going to leave like little tiny tuck spots, other ones no. So once you do that, I'm gonna be using, I think, 5 pages, which is gonna give me about 10. I'm gonna use 5 sheets, which is gonna give me about 10 pages, and that should be more than enough room to more or less assemble it. So this is what you're gonna do. Then you're gonna put them all one inside of the other. Put them all one inside of the other. Now I know I have one that's just a little bit slightly bigger, so I'm gonna put that one on the outside. I just have to figure out which one it is. and it's this one. So I'm going to put the bigger ones on the outside, the ones that I didn't score all too well because I wasn't paying too much attention when I was doing it. You can just rescore it if you don't like it, but I have the one that's just a little slightly bigger than the rest, just slightly, just by like 1/8 of an inch or so. It still fits within the book, but it's just slightly a little bit smaller than the rest of the book. So this is what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna pretty much sew these together. We're gonna sew these into this. You can use a poking tool. This is the poking tool that I have. It's got some red puffy paint on it that I was using yesterday. But this is the poking tool that I have, which I'm going to poke the holes into my spine when it's time for me to go ahead and get that sewn up. So let me do the last page that I need to do. And I've gone ahead and just make sure. See, this one automatically is going to be bigger, you can tell. I'm going to actually bring this down. I'm going to refold this one. I don't need a whole bunch of big sheets. I'm just going to layer this to the bottom. Make sure everything is flush. This is how you troubleshoot this little problem here. I'm going to bring my ruler. These I did without the ruler, which is why I'm recommending that you use a ruler. So I did these just kind of eyeballing them, and they didn't come out the way I needed them to come out. So I'm just going to push up against my ruler here. Make sure you hold your ruler well and nice and steady. And then I'm going to rescore it with my finger. Okay, that's way better. Let me make sure I don't have too much room over here. Make sure that's right. Yeah, that's right. Alright, so I can take this one out. I don't need this one anymore. And I'm going to go again with my edges and just make sure that my edges are straight. I'm going to hold that in place and just kind of bring it down. And make sure that's forward. It's nice and tight. Bring this over. Okay. And we have our book. And just fold it over. Make sure that it's tight. And I'll go ahead and fold this into that. And make sure that it's tight as well. That everything is nice and leveled. And then we're going to go ahead and just fold that part over. Bring it under. And then I'll do the same with the other one. Kind of score it somewhat to make sure that it's leveled. And this one's already done. Now, something that I did do for myself is because I like the way that this is kind of, I want to keep this motif kind of going. Not so much with like the flower, the pattern paper or anything like that, but like just the way that it kind of fits. So I did go ahead and create something that I can use to more or less give me the right dimension for when I start cutting up some of my papers. Now these are the papers that I'm going to be using for this. And it's just a mixture of paper. This is from my family tree. Some of these are from my family tree. Others are from that new paper pad that I bought, which is like a butterfly paper pad, and this is from an old paper pad. And I just liked it because it's got glitter and it's pretty. So this is more or less what we're going with. I'm keeping it kind of neutral to a certain extent. I'm going to be adding some of these. I have some more, so if I need to get more, I'll go ahead and get more. And I'm going to cut these up, and these are going to be like what I'm going to be placing. For the most part, most of these are going to be what I'm going to be placing inside of here. Either they'll be tags or photo mats or something of that nature, but it's got to all be to fit the size, which it pretty much fits perfectly. So This will be perfect. I might cut these down just a little bit smaller if I end up matting the area, which I think I might. And if I do, I'm gonna mat it all with the same burgundy cardstock paper, which is my recollections. So I think that the burgundy matches well with all of these different colors. So more or less, this is the color palette for this project. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting up all of my papers. I think I'm not gonna sew them in together until I have everything exactly the way that I want it. That way I don't have to fuddle around, and if I need to change something or change the page because I messed it up, then I can go ahead and grab another page real quick, fold it, and do what I gotta do all over again. If I sew it in now and I mess up, then I can't fix it. So I'll have to, you know, cover up the boo-boo somehow. So this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna be working on. I have my folded pages, and you can use any kind of book that you have, any kind of recycled. You can even use like junk mail and stuff like that. So this is kind of junk mail type, like a junk journal type of book, even though it's really not. But this is kind of what that is.